Hello everyone. Welcome to the second new moon in Virgo, partial solar eclipse, a page out of an old book themed readings. For these secret code names to really make sense, we are going to flash back into March of this year when this eclipse cycle with the Virgo Pisces axis started. It started on March 14th. On March 14th, the moon in Virgo was on the south node, opposing the sun, who was conjunct Saturn on the north node, trining on Mars in Cancer, and sextiling Uranus in Taurus. Mars was coming into its square with Chiron in Aries, and Venus is retrograde throughout this entire eclipse cycle. Now, Venus only goes retrograde for about 40 days every 18 to 19 months, which makes areas of love and money a highlight for this time. She's semi-squaring Uranus. We'll get back to this in a minute. Uranus aspecting on this transit brought in radical changes to our reality in Venus's home sign of Taurus. These shifts were intended to bring emotional value to our everyday life and put us in alignment with our spiritual authority. We were showcasing how much we care and wanting to be the best at it. There could have been personal victories, feeling like we finally got everything we wanted, but it was potentially coming from a wounded, competitive place. I'm better than them. Or emotionally having someone else up on a pedestal that they loved being on, like a rush or a high being number one. Or, the rush or high from making someone number one. Mind you, it's all coming from a wounded place. With that semi-square between Venus and Uranus, whatever quote-unquote victories we created surrounding themes of love, money, commitment, would ultimately end up coming undone or needing to come undone in order for this process, this healing process, to really solidify. This transit, unbeknownst to us, was integrating the balancing of our emotions in our everyday life with our spiritual authority, looking at how we feel every day and perfecting it by solidifying who we are and who we are seen to be as we become closer to spirit, redefining ourselves in a higher light, right, with all this Piscean energy. We may have been guided intuitively to move forward with certain things because there were wounds connected to Chiron that needed to heal once and for all. Wounds that continuously pop up and quote-unquote guide us in the wrong direction so we can figure out the right direction. These radical changes were intended to bring revelation. And with Uranus now retrograding back towards Taurus, the aha moments are going to start happening over the next few months. We were having a really hard time seeing the mirror back in March. Lost in a state of self-abandonment, trying to be the best balance for other people to prove our worth. However, this is all very diluted and riddled with hidden demons. The biggest underlying issue buried in here is wanting to feel in control of the demons and fears within the self that we know about, proving you can choose against them, but not actually taking the steps our intuition has been guiding us to take to dig to the root of why they are attached to us in the first place. Demons, quote-unquote demons, are not something you can control or prove wrong or prove powerless. They are either attached to you or they aren't. And the only way to detach from them is to recover your spiritual authority, to heal the root cause and act in a new light from a new belief system about yourself and your connection with the divine. This transit was setting us up for a spiritual win by creating the stage for a collapse in the reality to learn from now and through the remaining Virgo Pisces eclipses in 2026. The dominoes this transit set up are starting to fall now. How we have built our reputation now in the present because of these March eclipses, it's now in direct conflict with our spiritual authority. And the Chiron wound that set this stage is begging to be acknowledged so that it can heal. We are in the middle of the climax of the Virgo Pisces nodal axis transit. We are reaching that pinnacle moment in the middle where the build that started in March is starting to flip into the result, right? What we built is now resulting in something, and we're here in the middle looking at the things that we did, the things that we chose, the things that we put off, the things that we went forward with, and where we are now, realizing it is not everything we thought we were creating. Now, the second piece to this puzzle, March 29th was an off-sign eclipse, meaning the sun and moon were within range of the north node that was in Pisces, but they were in Aries. So there was an eclipse, a partial solar eclipse on the 29th, off sign. During this transit, Uranus is now in semi-square to the sun and moon, to the eclipse in Aries, who are nearly in the same exact spot Venus was in on the 14th. Emotions could have run really high in defense of the self, surrounding those love and money areas that we touched on from the 14th, and needing to be the priority, and changes were made. Venus has now retrograded back into Pisces, conjunct Neptune, North Node, and Saturn, and Mercury also went retrograde. This is tying off all the loose ends of the Aries Libra nodal transit, learning the lessons from that cycle and getting ready to move into the next one. In the light of this polarity, Chiron wounds we faced head on, consideration of the self and how we feel and how we allowed ourselves to be treated, shifted in defense of the self and inner harmony. The self and what we need to succeed as an emotionally sovereign being was the priority. A major, I'm not eating anyone's BS anymore, good riddance to all this or that was keeping me from feeling good about all my relationship dynamics, and finally, no more getting taken advantage of kind of energy. That's if you are in the light of this transit. Even if emotions were high, even if things were cut off from an emotional trigger, everything that was done in the light was in alignment with that success and the sovereignty of the self, right? Where the self was a priority, not taking anyone's crap. In the shadow of this polarity, if it wasn't learned, right? If this Aries Libra transit, if the lesson wasn't learned, if the attachments to our demons weren't enlightened, this may have looked like sheer defiance against independence and sovereignty, doubling down on codependency over a worthiness wound, an abandonment wound that was coming out as passionate emotions, overcompensating with strong emotions, the confusion of lust with love, completely cutting off the intuition, not trusting, cutting off what needs to be cut off because of a fear of being alone or a fear of being a failure, reconciling with toxic partners, love bombing, or emotional warfare, using the wounds or fears of another against them for personal gains or personal, like, ego-driven desires for victory over someone else. Essentially, you are either breaking free of the contracts or commitments that you dedicated yourself to back during the last Mercury retrograde cycle that was in December of 2024. Or you were doubling down in the Chiron wound, completely sacrificing the self, martyring the self in order to completely abandon, right, yourself and your inner balance for the balance of other people, for the happiness of other people, putting your happiness last on the list, if it was on the list at all. And now that we are at the middle, right, this climactic moment in the Virgo Pisces nodal cycle, we're really looking back. If you were in the light of this, you're really looking back at the choices that were made, the things that were done back in March with clear eyes, knowing that you did ultimately make the right choice for yourself, and you're glad you did. And the unfoldment of that gratitude, the unfoldment of that clarity and understanding is going to start to manifest for you. In the shadow of this, right, being at this middle now where we are, the choices that were made back on the first eclipse that was not off sign, right, the one that was in Virgo and Pisces back on the 14th, the stage that was getting set with that Chiron wound, who you have built yourself to be now, and how far removed you are from peace, from inner harmony, from being at a state of, I am grateful for the people in my life. I am grateful for all that I have. All that I've done has been worth it. You know, I have no regrets. It's being really far removed from that energy. So as we get into these secret code name readings, a page out of an old book, I thought it was pretty significant because back in March, I wasn't actually going live and doing readings or cosmic currencies or astrology or anything like that, right? And going back, being able to revisit this transit, knowing that it's significant for these reads, it's really going to show in the energy where you landed on that spectrum. Did you heal the old Chiron wound? Were you successful coming out of the March eclipse transits? Or did you miss the mark? Did you miss the mark and need a bit of a stronger lesson, right? The different readings that we go through today are going to address exactly that. It's going to bring up the ghost, right? The quote unquote ghost of the past energy. It's going to bring up what this current remaining transit of Virgo and Pisces looks like, and some best advice or insight into the energy moving forward. With that said, let's get into the message. So, secret codename Mary Poppins, your shuffle is in the corner. The first cards out in the read are the quote-unquote ghost of this eclipse cycle from back in March. All right, so we're flashing back with these cards. we have the Liar, Vision, and Empress. Now the Liar in the Harrow, it's a chaotic, evil energy. And it's love at its most treacherous, the kind of love that rips the heart in two and causes people to dive into a really deep, deep depression, where the mind goes to really, really dark places. This person that you're dealing with can cause obsession, unrequited or unreturned passion, and emphasizes that the connection in and of itself is a doomed one. Coming out with Empress and Vision. Vision is always about sight, inspiration, ideas, and creativity. The cycle of vision, intention, and ritual is a powerful tool. It is an unconscious process we employ in everything we do. It is thought, word, and action. It is research, planning, and execution. It is hypothesis, experimentation, and recording. Vision is the initial spark, the recognition of lack, desire, or impression. It calls you to kind of brainstorm and seek out the new, as much as it is also a reminder to follow through. Nothing comes of a thought stuck in your head, right? So we have this person whose this energy was really dominant back in March. And maybe you weren't seeing them quite through this lens, but the things that you chose through that lens then is significant to now, right? As a part of the kind of wave. We start at the beginning, we hit this climactic middle, and then we, start to descend out of the process. Coming out with the Empress, because the whole point between then and now is to get you in this new mindset, right? To get you in touch with what your vision really is for yourself. The Empress is femininity, abundance, nurturing, grace, beauty, firm guidance, and intuitive direction. She also denotes domestic peace. So your vision, honestly and truly, is wanting domestic peace. It's understanding that your vision of your future is not the same vision that this other person has for their future. And once people do commit to a vision, they tend to choose things in alignment with that vision. It doesn't matter if the vision is good, bad, great, indifferent, horrible, irresponsible. It doesn't matter what the vision is. It's just once someone picks their vision, they start choosing in alignment with that vision. And you guys do not have the same vision. That might have been really obvious back in March. And maybe you were dismissing it or denying it, or you were hopeful or still trying or whatever. And now you're looking at the same energy because it's been carrying on now for 6 months, going on 7 months. You know what I mean? So on the whole, back in March, you may have had strong visions for a future you wanted with someone who doesn't bring that domestic peace, the higher receiving, the safe place that is honored by the person you are dealing with. This person with the Liar may lie about more than you realize, keeping you dangling around by a thread, doing just enough to keep the vision in you of them alive, but not enough for you to receive the energy you want. It not only deprives you of what you want, it keeps you too distracted or misfocused to allow yourself to actually find it. The lie might even be or have been treating you like a quote-unquote empress for their own fear-based reasons. They know you have a certain vision you're after. They know it. So they act in a way that has you thinking they care and the vision is possible, when really the reality is they have no intention of fulfilling your vision or actually valuing and honoring you like an empress, truly. Okay. So as we get into the top and bottom of the deck, where we are now, right? The tarot is where we are now in this cycle. Where you are now, we have the Five of Swords on top with the Nine of Wands on bottom and the Knight of Wands under that. It's a chemistry-based connection that may be very heavy for you right now. Like the unrequited, unreturned passion energy the Liar card was talking about. At the end of the day, the Five of Swords, it's a battle of egos. Multiple people may even be involved with their opinions and their guidance based on their own inner motives. There may be a physical attraction or a draw from one person to another, but I don't feel like it honestly goes both ways. And there's an inherent incompatibility with it. I feel like the Liar energy is still present, and they play into the attraction the other person has because it helps them achieve their own vision, while the person they're dealing with is tired and wounded from not achieving theirs. Right? They're able to live out their vision, dangling you on a thread. But you will never get yours because yours and theirs is not the same. Theirs exists with you hanging on a thread. Feeling the heaviness, right? That Nine of Wands is heavy. It's like, I don't know how much more of this I could take. They're dangling you on purpose. They're not ignorant. They know what they're doing. They're lying. It's a conscious choice to lie. Lying doesn't happen by accident. Sometimes, out of fear state, we'll slip and we'll tell a lie, and then we will likely reveal the truth and apologize for lying and explain that it was just because we were afraid at the moment. But someone who consciously chooses to lie and knows they're lying, and then start to build lie on top of lie on top of lie, they made a choice to lie to you. They make a choice to behave in this false way, to keep you dangling, to get what they want from you, no matter how much or how little it is. They're getting exactly what they want, and they're living the vision that they want. They might not see more than what they're doing right now and just want things to stay the same. And their vision is to keep everything the same. I don't want anything to change. Where you want growth and you want change, right? That's why it feels so heavy. You want a different vibrational resonance in your reality. This person doesn't. So that's where we're at in the overall energy, right? Getting into the rest of the cards. We start with the Five of Coins and the Three of Cups. The Five of Coins with the Three of Cups can go a couple ways. One, there may be an outside energy, a person or even an addiction that is draining financial resources. The partaking in that energy from one person causes the other person to feel depressed or alone and without, right? Whenever they partake in the third party energy, you feel depressed or alone and without. And it probably mirrors back to them, right? When you're not acting in alignment with their vision or you change, they get real depressed or they feel like they're alone and without. They keep you dangling with the emotions, right? It's like they don't hold a place in someone's life as long as the third energy is present. They don't. They can't hold a place for someone in their life, truly, as long as this third energy is around. Again, it can be anything from a person to alcohol or drugs or video games, phone games, gambling, porn, right? Any addiction that takes up time and or energy in a detrimental way. The second energy I was getting off these cards, there is something that should be bringing in or creating joy, and it's completely missing. Like, everyone else gets to experience joy and celebration but you. And to be fair, it could be both cases. It could be one and two. Everybody else gets to have their vision. Everybody else gets to experience joy but not you. And it feels grossly unfair, right? It causes the mind to spin, right? It spins and spirals out of control, and we have obsessive, persistent thoughts. This is the kind of energy this person is creating. It's like an anxious attachment style that you've developed because they're avoidant. Even if you weren't typically an anxious person in other dynamics, maybe you've always been. But if you weren't, this person triggered you into an anxious relationship style. When you don't hear from them, or they don't come through, or they break promises, or they break trust, it leaves you feeling really unstable. Because your vision, you can't see it when they act like that. It's hard to believe your vision when they act like that. And you get real upset when you're not achieving your vision, right? Deep depression. It's like, what's the point? What's the point of life if I can't receive my highest vision? And it's because you're focusing on the wrong person, right? Now, this is important because the Chariot comes clarified by the Ace of Cups. Chariot is major arcana. That's divine momentum. That's divine push. That's the divine stepping in and moving things, right? With the Ace of Cups, it says now is the time where the divine steps in a big way to overflow to you and have your vision realized, but it requires your cooperation. Right? This is where the divine steps in. The Chariot with the Ace of Cups. Now, this is where the divine steps in a big way to overflow to you and have your vision realized. But it requires your cooperation. Major arcana are divine movements. They're divine shifts. They're forces beyond our control. But the minor arcana are our choices. Universe is going to set up the momentum, but you've got to choose to ride the wave. You got to get on it, you know what I mean? Otherwise, the wave will just crash on the shore and it's gone. The universe is sending you an opportunity to choose to overflow to yourself and achieve your vision. It's going to take time, okay? With the Knight of Coins and the Six of Wands, it's going to take time to build, and you have to be cautious about your choices because it's fragile. And I heard transit sensitive. So there's likely something going on with your chart and these alignments that make this possible. We do have the Chariot here, and Jupiter is in Cancer. We also have the Empress, and Uranus will be retrograding back into Taurus during the remainder of this nodal cycle. You may also want to pay attention to the moon's transits and how it affects things every month. My cosmic currencies are great for that. And what Venus is doing with your chart, right? And vision is super air sign energy. So particular attention to Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, especially Pluto. And when Venus pops into Libra, right? Because Pluto is in Aquarius. So these transits may seriously be aspecting on your chart. And if you were to look, you could probably start to understand why this is making sense with this nodal cycle, right? With the Virgo Pisces axis. However it's affecting your chart, the challenges, like this is trying to help you see, especially Uranus, right? Because it's revelation. It's trying to help you see your reality in terms of finances and love. Our ability to receive in the reality of things in life. To not deal with love and money detriments. Pay attention to the transits. Now the Seven of Wands and the Four of Swords reversed. The Seven of Wands with the Four of Swords reversed is essentially saying you can't let your guard down. Defending your vision, right? The suit of Wands represents vision. Visualization. Defending your vision is not going to allow for a break. Have pep talks with yourself and be clear in your direction, because there is no room to give any quote unquote liar energy any leeway. You give an inch and you will remain deprived and robbed of your vision. Your guidance cards. Moving forward for the rest of this Virgo Pisces nodal transit. Card number 36 is about entrapments, limitations, restrictions, and complications. The quote, "We have more ability than willpower, and it is often an excuse to ourselves that we imagine things are impossible." Think about that. How much ability you must have to convince yourself that something's impossible. Doing it your way is not working. It hasn't worked. You're deprived and robbed and really fucking sad whenever you deal with this person. You get the little highs from being dangled, but the vast majority of the time you spend consumed with this energy, it's negative. It's not psychologically or mentally or emotionally and apparently financially healthy for you. It's not good for you. You know, the Empress is sometimes a mother energy, like it's not good for anyone. That kind of energy doesn't serve anyone. Definitely not in the highest good to stay suffering with them. This card represents being entangled by obstacles, real or imagined, that restrict our wishes and actions. Ignorance, self-doubt, paralyzing fear are things that we allow to take control only for them to limit us and imprison us. If we were to summon the strength to face them head on for what they are, we may ultimately overcome them. The entrapment is a consequence of your own fears. So what are you afraid of? And can you tell yourself that your fear is not real? It's not real. It's not real. It's not going to be some horrible outcome like you think. whatever the fear is that makes it horrible, letting go of your highest good vision that you've attached to this person. You've attached a highest good vision to a person who will never bring it to form. They will never actually help you realize that vision. You have to let them go. You will never have your vision. You got to trust the process, that spirit knows what it's doing, and override the fear. The angel on the card is contemplating sacrificing herself and ending her existence when the very sword she fears she must use to take her life with could very well be the sword that cuts her free. Do you understand? The truth that makes you so depressed and feels so alone, the truth that causes those feelings is the same exact truth that can help you realize you can cut yourself free. Swords represent truth. You can use the truth to hurt yourself in every way imaginable, or you can use the truth to free yourself. You know, it's the second card now in this reading that brought up those deeply devastating energies. Those not wanting to be here, really super dark thoughts kind of energy, because the liar card brought that same energy. Deep, deep depression, prompting those kinds of thoughts. That truth can either take your life or be the exact reason why you finally fly free of this person. That's card number 36. Card number 28. This card is about contact, reaching out, connections, and spiritual bonds. The quote, "Each contact with a human being is so rare, so precious. One should preserve it." It says, when we forget we are both spirit and flesh, we suffer unnecessarily. This card first and foremost guides to connect you with your higher self so you can see the spiritual aspect of your dynamics with others more clearly and be able to reach out or communicate more easily. All we see in this earthly realm is no more than a mask. So to truly communicate with someone at a soul level and not on the surface, where your soul is understood, heard, and honored, sometimes people only hear you in memory. You are a guide for others, yes. But you must guide yourself when someone is incapable of responding to your soul with their soul in the moment. Having communication, true communication, is rare. People talk on the surface all the time. They misunderstand each other all the time. They blame and deflect and get angry and tell them they love them and they don't even know what it means. Tell a little lie, not knowing that they're just setting the stage to make it okay for bigger lies later. The lies just get bigger. They just start compounding. But to actually communicate with someone, to know that they heard what you said and it hit them in their soul. That they would not forget it, not for an instant. That they would choose from that very moment of communication that they will never hurt you that way again. That they will do their best in this way or that way. So that you can feel safe and loved and supported and honored. That kind of energy. It exists. It exists. I just don't know if you've experienced it yet. Which is why you're chasing it, because you know on some level that it exists, because it's your vision. It's your vision. It's a part of your vision to be heard and honored. It's a part of your vision. But this person does not intend on being the person you want them to be in your vision. It conflicts with their vision. They just want to stay exactly how they are. Even if that means not honoring you, or really hearing you, or lying to you, and manipulating you and dangling you. Card number 10 is all about knowledge, research, knowing the facts, being prepared, and forewarned. The quote. It's a long quote. It talks about a huge library in disarray being less effective than a small and orderly one. All the knowledge in the world is useless if we surrender it to chaos. Organize your memories, your thoughts, conversations, the way you've felt, and meet yourself with organization. If you keep a journal, go back and reread your journal. Go back to March. Start there and read up through the present. If you haven't, you should probably start a journal. Get a pad of paper, get something to keep track and organize your thoughts on. Organize your feelings on. Organize the events that took place, the conversations that were had. Start keeping track. Because when our facts or feelings are all over the place, we lose our sense of self-validation. We lose it. When we lose self-validation, we seek it outside of ourselves, and we rarely ever find it from the person we want it from. Assess the situation. Use your intuitive communication with your higher self. Trust you are feeling others through your own feelings and make better decisions. I'm going to say that again. Assess the situation and use your intuitive communication with your higher self. Trust you are feeling others through your own feelings, and you need to start making better decisions. There's a lot of information to process through. So start from this past March to the present day, and then continue to track these things through eclipse season, right? The next eclipse season that's going to be taking place in like February, March of 2026. It will help you see the forest through the trees, and you'll feel so much better moving forward. Because you will have a record of the conversations you had, of things that you said, things that they're saying in hindsight. Oh, you said this, you didn't say that. No, you know what you said. You wrote down what you said. You didn't write it down incorrectly the day it happened. You know what I mean? Don't let yourself be gaslit. Don't let yourself be dangled. How many times did they make the promise? How many times did they get caught lying? How many times did they lie and your intuition pinged off about it? Right? That intuitive communication. How many times did your intuition ping off and you just couldn't find proof? Start to track how many times your intuition is popping off. Because if someone is lying, your intuition is popping off because they know they're lying and you feel their energy as if it were your own. You know it's a lie because they know it's a lie. That's what the intuition does. That's what empathy does. That's what those emotional cues tell us. We are not fools. We are not fools. We can have all the love in the world. It ain't going to save somebody. It ain't going to change somebody. It's not going to help somebody. It's not going to make them see. How many times have we tried that and failed? The universe is opening up a new way. It's going to present an opportunity for you to choose to overflow to yourself and receive better, transit sensitive. This window, this cycle, this process is delicate. And you really have to listen to yourself. You can't be giving an inch or letting something slide. Because 99% is not 100, and spirit is like, I need you at 100 right now. I need you to be fucking magical like Mary Poppins. I need you to be fucking magical and have this belief that everything is possible, not impossible. She's pulling lamps and shit out of her purse. That's impossible. No, it's not. Not if you're Mary fucking Poppins. She flies with her umbrella. She jumps into paintings. She's magic. Can you get in that vibe? That you are Mary fucking Poppins. And you do not have to submit yourself to depravity. And being robbed of the vision. That I honor you and you honor me. I hear you and you hear me. Vision. That receiving of the Most High Empress vision. Sit there and tell me you don't deserve it. Sit there and tell me you don't deserve it. Because you do. You just need these mirrors out of the way. You need this book to close so you could start the next one. The second book is way different than the first one. Way different. If you think about a book series, right? How different is the first book from the second book? How different is the third book from the second book? They're so different. And you are the one common character in all the books. All of them. Some people are meant to go with you into the next book. Some people are not. They are the villain of that book, and you defeat them at the end and move on to the next part of your journey in the next book in the series. You are up against a liar, a manipulator who causes you severely detrimental emotional stress. You can't even sit there and act like you're the only one that's going to feel it. Or that you're the only one who's feeling it right now. I do hope this reading helped, because this is your Virgo Pisces nodal transit in a nutshell. That's why this, a page out of an old book, was so important. We had to go back to March. We had to go back to March so that we could put this thing into perspective. Because this person's not getting better. And they don't want to. They can tell you that they do. But their vision hasn't changed. They want to stay the same. So, I hope it helps. I love you very much. I love you very much. Now, for those of you who don't know what a secret code name reading is, these readings are personal readings. People book these secret code name readings with me. It's their personal reading. And I give them a secret code name so that they know that this reading is theirs, right? The beauty is no one else does. It's secret to them. But because it's public like this and their energy gets to ripple, this is their healing process, right? These are the things that they're going through. So if you also resonated to this reading and it has helped you in some way, drop a thank you in the comments for them, because this is their energy out there, helping other people by being present to the best of their ability, right? To help us in the healing process. So special thank you to secret code name Mary Poppins. Thank you for your presence. And for those of you who would like to get your own personal reading with me for these events, your own secret code name reading, the link to my Etsy shop is in the description. Until we next meet, guys.